Picture this moment. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, sits alone in his tent on the Germanic frontier. Outside, barbarian tribes threaten the empire. Inside his own court, betrayal lurks in every shadow. His beloved wife has just died. The plague ravages his armies. Yet here he sits, calm, composed, writing in his journal words that would echo through millennia. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wasn't just philosophy for him. This was survival. This was power. This was the difference between crumbling under the weight of an empire and becoming one of history's greatest leaders. And today, I'm going to share with you the exact same principles that transformed not just Marcus Aurelius, but countless individuals throughout history who discovered that true power doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. What you're about to discover isn't just ancient wisdom, gathering dust in libraries. These are battle-tested strategies that have been used by everyone from Roman emperors facing assassination attempts to modern CEOs navigating billion-dollar crises, from slaves who found freedom in chains to soldiers who found peace in war zones. These 9 lessons from Stoic philosophy aren't just ideas, they're weapons. Weapons against anxiety, against rage, against despair, against every emotional storm that threatens to tear your life apart. But I need to warn you about something before we begin. What I'm about to share with you is powerful. So powerful that it fundamentally rewired how I see the world, how I respond to challenges, how I navigate relationships, and how I build my life. This isn't feel-good motivation that wears off by tomorrow morning. This is a complete operating system upgrade for your mind. And once you install it, once you truly understand and apply these principles, there's no going back to your old way of thinking. Lesson 1, the Dichotomy of Control. Let me tell you about a man who lost everything and gained the world. His name was Epictetus, and he started life as a slave in Rome. His leg was deliberately broken by his master, leaving him crippled for life. He had no freedom, no possessions, no rights. By every external measure, he should have been the most miserable person alive. Yet Epictetus became one of the most influential philosophers in history, and his teachings on emotional mastery were studied by emperors and generals. How? He discovered the most fundamental truth of human existence, the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our power, while others are not. These simple words contain the nuclear codes to emotional freedom. Think about everything that makes you anxious, angry, or depressed right now. I guarantee that 90% of it falls into the category of things outside your direct control. The economy, other people's opinions, your past mistakes, future uncertainties, your height, your age, where you were born, who your parents were, all outside your control. Yet we spend our lives in emotional turmoil over these unchangeable realities. But here's what is in your control: your judgments, your decisions, your efforts, your responses, your values, your actions in this present moment. That's it. That's your kingdom. Everything else is foreign territory. And the moment you truly understand this, the moment you stop trying to be emperor of the universe and start being master of your own mind, everything changes. I learned this lesson the hard way when my business collapsed during the 2008 financial crisis. I lost everything I had built over 10 years in a matter of months. Contracts cancelled, clients disappeared, savings evaporated. I spent weeks in a spiral of rage and despair, blaming the banks, the government, the clients who abandoned me. Then I encountered Epictetus's teaching, and it hit me like a lightning bolt. The economy wasn't in my control. The past wasn't in my control. But my response? My next action? My decision to rebuild or give up? That was entirely mine. This isn't about passive acceptance. This isn't about rolling over and taking whatever life throws at you. This is about strategic focus. When you stop wasting energy on what you can't control, you unleash tremendous power over what you can. It's like a fighter who stops swinging at shadows and starts landing precise, devastating blows exactly where they count. Every morning now, I do what I call the control audit. I list everything that's causing me stress or emotional disturbance. Then I divide them into two columns, in my control and outside my control. The items in the second column, I acknowledge them, accept them, and then ignore them. The items in the first column, that's where I channel every ounce of my energy and attention. This simple practice has saved me more emotional energy than years of therapy. The traffic that's making you late. Outside your control. Your decision to leave earlier tomorrow? In your control. Your boss's mood? Outside your control. The quality of your work? In your control. Your partner's behavior? Outside your control. How you respond to that behavior? Completely yours to command. This isn't just philosophy. This is practical emotional technology that works every single time you apply it. Lesson 2. Negative visualization. Now, this next principle might sound counterintuitive in our positive thinking obsessed culture, but stay with me because this is where Stoicism reveals its genius. The Stoics practice something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. In modern terms, we call it negative visualization, and it's one of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience ever developed. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men and advisor to emperors, would regularly spend days living as a poor man. He'd sleep on the floor, eat basic food, wear rough clothes. Why would a billionaire of his time subject himself to this? He was inoculating himself against the fear of loss. He was proving to himself that even if he lost everything, he would survive. He would still be Seneca. His identity, his virtue, his wisdom, these couldn't be taken away by any reversal of fortune. But negative visualization goes deeper than just preparing for material loss. It's about mentally rehearsing life's inevitable challenges so that when they arrive, and they will arrive, you're not ambushed by them. You've already fought this battle in your mind. You've already developed your strategy. You've already proven to yourself that you can handle it. Every morning, I spend 5 minutes visualizing potential challenges. What if that important meeting goes badly? What if my relationship ends? What if I get that diagnosis I fear? What if I lose my job? But here's the crucial part. I don't just imagine these scenarios to torture myself. I imagine myself responding to them with wisdom, courage, and composure. I see myself maintaining my principles even in crisis. I visualize myself finding opportunity in disaster, strength in struggle, growth in pain. This isn't pessimism. This is preparation. A fire drill isn't pessimistic, it's practical. And just as a fire drill makes you calmer and more effective if a real fire breaks out, negative visualization makes you emotionally bulletproof when real challenges arise. You've already been there in your mind. You've already survived it. The unknown becomes known, the unexpected becomes expected, and fear loses its power over you. I discovered the power of this practice when my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Instead of being paralyzed by denial or false hope, I had already walked this path in my mind. I'd visualized this moment, prepared for it, developed my response to it. This didn't make the pain disappear, but it allowed me to be present, to be useful, to be strong when my family needed me most. While others were crumbling under the shock, I was able to act with clarity and purpose because I had already rehearsed this scenario. The Stoics took this practice to its ultimate conclusion with memento mori. Remember, you must die. They would regularly contemplate their own mortality, not out of morbidity, but out of wisdom. When you truly accept that your time is limited, that any day could be your last, you stop wasting energy on trivial anxieties. You stop postponing important conversations. You stop taking loved ones for granted. You stop living as if you have unlimited tomorrows. Lesson 3. Voluntary discomfort. Here's something that will revolutionize your relationship with comfort and challenge. The Stoics deliberately sought out discomfort, not because they were masochists, but because they understood a fundamental truth about human psychology. We become slaves to our comforts, and this slavery makes us emotionally fragile. Marcus Aurelius. Despite having access to every luxury the ancient world could offer, would regularly sleep on the ground. Cato the Younger would walk barefoot through Rome's streets, wearing inadequate clothing in winter, exposing himself to public ridicule. These weren't acts of meaningless self-punishment. They were training exercises for the soul, building emotional and physical resilience that would serve them in moments of real crisis. Think about modern life. We panic when the Wi-Fi goes down. We have anxiety attacks when our phone battery dies. We fall apart when the air conditioning breaks. We've become so dependent on comfort that any deviation from it triggers emotional chaos. This is weakness, and the Stoics knew that weakness in small things creates weakness in all things. I started practicing voluntary discomfort 3 years ago, and it transformed my emotional landscape. Cold showers every morning, not because I enjoy them, but because starting my day by voluntarily doing something uncomfortable proves to myself that I'm in control, not my comfort-seeking impulses. Once a month I fast for 24 hours, not for health reasons, but to remind myself that I'm not a slave to hunger, that I can function without constant consumption. These practices might seem extreme, but here's what they've given me. Freedom from the tyranny of comfort. When my flight gets delayed and I have to sleep in the airport, I'm fine. I've slept on floors by choice. When the business dinner gets cancelled and I miss a meal, I'm fine. I've gone without food by choice. When the gym is closed and I have to work out in the rain, I'm fine. I've trained in worse conditions by choice, but the real power of voluntary discomfort isn't just physical resilience, it's emotional mastery. Every time you choose discomfort, you're strengthening your will. You're proving to yourself that you're stronger than your impulses, bigger than your fears, more powerful than your circumstances. You're building what the Stoics called the inner citadel, an unconquerable fortress within yourself that no external force can breach. Last year, I was in a business negotiation that went sideways. The other party tried to pressure me by making the room uncomfortably cold, scheduling the meeting at an inconvenient time, making me wait for hours. These tactics might have worked on someone else, but my practice of voluntary discomfort had immunized me. I sat there calm, composed, unaffected. They eventually gave up their psychological warfare, and we reached a fair agreement. That deal was worth millions, but the real value was the confirmation that my Stoic training worked when it mattered most. Lesson 4. Reframe your perspective. The Stoics understood something that modern cognitive behavioral therapy has only recently rediscovered. Events don't disturb us. Our judgments about events disturb us. Shakespeare, influenced by Stoic philosophy, put it perfectly. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. This isn't New Age denial of reality. This is recognition that every event, every circumstance, every challenge contains multiple possible interpretations, and we have the power to choose which interpretation we adopt. The Stoics called this the discipline of desire, training yourself to see events through the lens most conducive to virtue and effectiveness. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal while dealing with plagues, wars, and betrayals, constantly reminded himself to reframe his perspective. When dealing with difficult people, he wouldn't think this person is making my life miserable. Instead, he'd think, this person is giving me an opportunity to practice patience and compassion. When facing obstacles, he wouldn't think this is blocking my path. He'd think this is the path. I learned the life-changing power of reframing during the worst period of my life. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition. The doctors told me I'd be on medication for life, that my athletic days were over, that I needed to accept a new normal of limitation and pain. For months, I saw myself as a victim, broken, diminished. Then I discovered Marcus Aurelius's concept of the obstacle as the way. I reframed my illness from a curse to a teacher. What was it teaching me? Patience, humility, empathy for others who suffer, appreciation for the days when I felt good, discipline in managing my health, innovation in finding new ways to stay active. This wasn't positive thinking. I still had the illness. But by reframing it from enemy to teacher, I transformed my relationship with it. Instead of fighting against reality, I started working with it. The results were remarkable. By seeing my condition as a teacher rather than a tormentor, I became curious instead of bitter. I researched extensively, experimented with diet and exercise, connected with others facing similar challenges. Within a year, I had not only managed my symptoms without medication, but had actually become healthier than I was before the diagnosis. The obstacle had literally become the way to a better life. This principle applies to every area of life. Fired from your job? Reframe it as liberation to pursue what you really want. Relationship ended. Reframe it as space for growth and self-discovery. Business failed? Reframe it as an education you couldn't have gotten any other way. This isn't about lying to yourself or denying pain. It's about choosing the most empowering interpretation of events, the perspective that enables action rather than paralysis. Lesson 5, practice presence. The Stoics were masters of presence, though they didn't call it mindfulness or meditation. They called it prosocia, continuous attention to the present moment. They understood that most emotional suffering comes from two sources: dwelling on the past or anxiously projecting into the future. The antidote to both is fierce presence in the now. Seneca wrote, "Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and seeks the old." He wasn't talking about being conservative or resistant to change. He was talking about the eternal old truth that exists only in this present moment. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but the present is reality. And reality is where your power lives. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of managing an empire at war, would regularly bring himself back to the present moment with a simple practice. He would ask himself, what is my present thought? What is my present action? What is my present intention? These three questions would snap him out of the mental time travel that creates most of our emotional turmoil and bring him back to the only moment where he could actually exercise his power. I discovered the transformative power of Stoic presence during a period when anxiety was destroying my life. I was constantly catastrophizing about the future, running worst-case scenarios on repeat, living in a state of perpetual fear about things that hadn't happened and probably never would. My mind was like a horror movie director, constantly creating scenes of disaster and forcing me to watch them over and over. Then I encountered the Stoic practice of presence, particularly Marcus Aurelius's technique of breaking time down into the smallest possible unit. Not thinking about next year, next month, next week, or even tomorrow. Just this moment, just this breath, just this single action. When you truly bring your attention to the present moment, anxiety becomes impossible. Anxiety requires future projection to exist. Without the future, there's no anxiety, only action. I started with what I call the one thing practice. Whatever I was doing, I would do only that. When eating, just eat. When walking, just walk. When listening, just listen. No mental multitasking, no future planning, no past reviewing. Just complete presence in the current activity. The results were immediate and profound. My anxiety didn't gradually decrease, it vanished. Not because my problems were solved, but because I was no longer living in the problematic future. I was living in the present, where problems either don't exist or can be acted upon. This presence also transformed my effectiveness. When you're fully present, you bring 100% of your cognitive resources to whatever you're doing. Your work improves, your relationships deepen, your decisions become clearer. You stop making mistakes caused by distraction. You stop missing opportunities because your mind was elsewhere. You become, in the words of Seneca, a owner of yourself. Lesson 6, view from above. One of the most powerful Stoic exercises for emotional mastery is what Marcus Aurelius called the view from above. This is a mental exercise where you imagine yourself rising up above your current situation, above your city, above your country, above the earth itself, and looking down at your life from a cosmic perspective. From this elevated viewpoint, your problems shrink to their proper size. That person who cut you off in traffic? From above, they're just another soul struggling through their day. That deadline that's stressing you out? From above, it's a tiny blip in the vast flow of time. That embarrassing moment that keeps replaying in your mind? From above, it's already forgotten by the universe. This isn't about minimizing genuine suffering or important responsibilities. It's about putting them in perspective. Marcus Aurelius, while dealing with the plague that would kill millions, would regularly practice this exercise to maintain his emotional equilibrium. He would imagine himself from the perspective of the stars, seeing his empire as just one small part of the world as one small part of the cosmos, his lifetime as a brief flicker in eternity. I use this technique every night before bed, and it's become my most powerful tool for releasing the day's emotional accumulation. I imagine myself floating up above my house, seeing myself lying in bed. Then higher, seeing my neighborhood, my city, my state. Higher still, seeing the continent, the planet, the solar system. From that cosmic perspective, I ask myself, will this matter in a year? In 10 years? In 100 years? Almost nothing passes that test, and that's precisely the point. We spend our lives in emotional turmoil over things that are, from any larger perspective, completely insignificant. The rude comment someone made, the traffic jam, the missed opportunity, the social media argument. From the view above, these are less than dust. This isn't nihilism, it's liberation. When you see how small your problems really are, you stop giving them power over your emotional state. But the view from above gives you something even more valuable than perspective on problems. It gives you clarity on what actually matters. From that cosmic viewpoint, what remains important? Love, virtue, wisdom, service, growth, connection. The things that transcend our brief individual existence. The things that echo in eternity. When you come back down from that cosmic perspective, you bring with you a clarity about what deserves your emotional energy and what doesn't. Last month, I was in a heated conflict with a business partner. Accusations were flying, lawyers were getting involved, years of collaboration were turning into bitter antagonism. Then I did the view from above exercise, and from that perspective, I saw two tiny humans on a spinning rock in infinite space, fighting over numbers in a computer. The absurdity of it hit me so hard I actually laughed. The next day I called my partner, acknowledged our shared humanity, and we resolved the conflict in an hour. The view from above had shown me what my anger was hiding, that this relationship was more valuable than any dispute. Lesson 7. Cultivate indifference. Now we come to one of the most misunderstood aspects of Stoicism, the cultivation of what the Greeks called apatheia, often mistranslated as apathy. The Stoics weren't advocating for not caring about anything. They were advocating for what I call selective indifference, being indifferent to things that don't matter, so you can be fully engaged with things that do. The Stoics divided all things into 3 categories: good, bad, and indifferent. The only things that were truly good were virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. The only things that were truly bad were vices, ignorance, injustice, cowardice, excess. Everything else, wealth, poverty, fame, obscurity, health, sickness, life, or death, these were preferred indifference, nice to have, but not necessary for a good life. This might seem like philosophical hair-splitting, but it's actually a profound tool for emotional freedom. When you treat external things as truly indifferent, when you can say, I prefer to be healthy, but I can be virtuous while sick, or I prefer to be wealthy, but I can be virtuous while poor, you become emotionally invulnerable. Nothing external can disturb your peace, because your peace doesn't depend on externals. Epictetus demonstrated this perfectly when his leg was being broken by his master. He calmly told his master, if you keep twisting, it will break. When it broke, he simply said, I told you it would break. No anger, no despair, just acknowledgement of fact. His body could be broken, but his composure couldn't, because his composure didn't depend on his body's condition. It depended on his choice to remain composed. I learned the power of cultivated indifference when my first book was rejected by 37 publishers. Each rejection used to feel like a personal attack, a judgment on my worth as a writer and a person. Then I applied the Stoic principle of indifference. Publishing was a preferred indifferent, nice to have, but not necessary for me to be a good writer or a good person. I could continue writing virtuously whether published or not. This shift in perspective changed everything. I stopped taking rejections personally. They became data points, not emotional wounds. I kept writing, kept submitting, but now from a place of strength rather than desperation. Ironically, once I became indifferent to publication, I got published. The editor later told me it was my calm confidence that set me apart from other desperate authors. My indifference had become my strength, but here's the key. This indifference must be cultivated, practiced, built over time. You can't just decide to be indifferent and suddenly be free. You have to train yourself through small acts of letting go. Start with trivial preferences. That restaurant you wanted to go to is closed. Practice indifference. Someone takes the parking spot you were waiting for. Practice indifference. Your favorite team loses? Practice indifference. These small practices build your capacity for indifference to bigger things. Lesson 8. Redefine success. The Stoics had a revolutionary definition of success that, if truly understood and adopted, would eliminate 90% of our emotional suffering. For them, success wasn't about outcomes, it was about effort. You succeed the moment you do your best, regardless of results. You fail only when you don't try or when you betray your principles. This might sound like a participation trophy philosophy, but it's actually the opposite. It's holding yourself to the highest possible standard, the standard of your best effort, while simultaneously freeing yourself from the anxiety of outcome dependence. When you define success by effort rather than outcome, you can never truly fail as long as you truly try. Marcus Aurelius lived this principle while leading Rome through one of its darkest periods. Plagues, wars, betrayals, natural disasters. By any external measure, his reign was a series of crises and setbacks. Yet he considered himself successful because he met each challenge with his best effort, guided by virtue. He couldn't control whether Rome won its wars, but he could control whether he led with wisdom and courage. He couldn't control the plague, but he could control his response to it. This redefinition of success transformed my entire approach to life and business. I used to live in constant anxiety about results. Would the project succeed? Would the client be happy? Would the investment pay off? This outcome obsession was destroying my peace of mind and, ironically, undermining my performance. Anxiety about results was making those results less likely. Then I adopted the Stoic definition of success. Now, before any important endeavor, I ask myself one question: what does my best effort look like here? I define that clearly, then I execute it fully. Once I've given my best effort, I've succeeded, regardless of outcome. The project might fail, the client might be unhappy, the investment might tank, but if I gave my best effort, I succeeded in the only way that's actually under my control. This isn't lowering standards, it's raising them. It's much easier to blame failure on circumstances than to admit you didn't give your best effort. It's much easier to coast when things are going well than to maintain maximum effort regardless of results. The Stoic definition of success demands more from you, not less. But it also gives you more, complete emotional freedom from the tyranny of outcomes. I saw this principle save a friend's sanity when his startup failed after 3 years of incredible effort. By conventional definitions, he had failed spectacularly. Investors lost money, employees lost jobs, dreams were shattered. But he had given everything he had. He had made every decision with integrity, worked with total commitment, treated everyone with respect. By the Stoic definition, he had succeeded completely. This perspective allowed him to walk away with his head high, learn from the experience, and start again. His next company sold for 9 figures, but he'll tell you the real success was in the effort, not the exit. Lesson 9. Embracing fate. We come now to perhaps the most powerful and challenging Stoic principle, amor fati, love of fate. This isn't passive resignation or fatalistic acceptance. This is the ultimate form of emotional mastery, actively embracing everything that happens as if you had chosen it yourself. Nietzsche, deeply influenced by the Stoics, called amor fati his formula for greatness, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. This is the pinnacle of Stoic practice, not just accepting what happens, but embracing it, using it, transforming it into fuel for your growth and purpose. Marcus Aurelius expressed this principle with a powerful metaphor. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle, every setback, every tragedy contains within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. But you can only access that opportunity if you embrace what happens instead of resisting it. This principle saved my life, literally. 7 years ago, I was in a car accident that left me temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors weren't sure if I'd walk again. For the first week, I raged against fate. Why me? Why now? Why this? But then I remembered Marcus Aurelius's words about loving fate, about embracing what happens as if you had chosen it. So I made a radical decision. I would treat this paralysis as if I had chosen it, as if I had signed up for this experience, as if this was exactly what I needed for my growth. This shift in perspective changed everything. Instead of seeing myself as a victim of cruel fate, I saw myself as a student in an intensive course on resilience, patience, and gratitude. Instead of asking, why me? I started asking, what can I learn from this? How can I use this? Who can I help because of this? The transformation was immediate. My recovery accelerated. My attitude inspired other patients. My relationships deepened as I learned to receive help. My writing improved as I had genuine wisdom to share. Within 3 months, I was walking. Within 6 months, I was running. Today, I'm in better shape than before the accident. But the real transformation wasn't physical, it was emotional and spiritual. By embracing my fate, I had transformed tragedy into triumph. Amor fati doesn't mean you have to like everything that happens. It means you commit to finding the value in everything that happens. It means you stop wasting energy wishing things were different and start investing energy in making the best of things as they are. It means you become an alchemist, transforming the lead of circumstances into the gold of wisdom and strength. This is the ultimate power, the power to make everything that happens serve your purpose. When you truly embrace amor fati, you become invincible, not because nothing bad happens to you, but because everything that happens, good or bad, becomes material for your growth. You become like a fire that transforms everything thrown into it into light and heat. The more challenges you face, the brighter you burn. The integration now. These 9 lessons aren't meant to be applied separately or sequentially. They're meant to be integrated into a complete philosophy of life, a comprehensive approach to emotional mastery that transforms you from a reactive victim of circumstances into a proactive creator of your experience. Imagine starting each day with the dichotomy of control, clearly distinguishing what's yours to command from what isn't. You practice negative visualization during your morning routine, preparing yourself mentally for whatever challenges might arise. You deliberately take a cold shower or skip breakfast, practicing voluntary discomfort to prove your freedom from comfort's tyranny. Throughout the day, you constantly reframe your perspective, seeing obstacles as opportunities, difficulties as teachers. You maintain fierce presence, bringing your full attention to each moment, each task, each interaction. When emotions arise, you step back and take the view from above, seeing your situation from a cosmic perspective that reveals what truly matters. You cultivate indifference to externals while passionately pursuing virtue. You define success by your effort, not by outcomes, freeing yourself from anxiety while maintaining the highest standards. And through it all, you practice amor fati, embracing everything that happens as part of your path, transforming every experience into wisdom. This isn't just a philosophy. It's a practice. It's a daily discipline that requires constant attention and effort. The Stoics called it ascesis, training. Just as an athlete trains their body through daily exercise, you train your mind through daily philosophical practice. And just as physical training transforms your body over time, this mental training transforms your entire experience of life. Here's what I want you to understand. Everything I've shared with you today has been proven across 2,000 years of human experience. From Roman emperors to American presidents, from ancient slaves to modern CEOs, from soldiers in trenches to nurses in ICUs, these principles have provided unshakable emotional stability in the most extreme circumstances imaginable. But knowing these principles intellectually isn't enough. Knowledge without practice is impotent. You have to live these principles, embody them, make them part of your daily routine. Start small. Choose one principle and practice it for a week. Then add another. Build slowly but consistently. And within a few months, you'll have developed an emotional fortress that no external storm can breach. If this resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside you while reading this, then you're ready for this journey. You're ready to stop being a slave to your emotions and start being their master. You're ready to stop being tossed around by circumstances and start standing firm, regardless of what life throws at you. Subscribe to this channel right now, because this is just the beginning. I'll be sharing specific exercises, detailed practices, real-world applications of these principles. I'll be breaking down the writings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, showing you exactly how to apply their wisdom to modern challenges. I'll be interviewing modern practitioners who have used these principles to overcome incredible odds and achieve extraordinary things. Hit that notification bell, because you don't want to miss what's coming. We're building a community of modern Stoics, people committed to emotional mastery and philosophical living. In the comments below, tell me which of these 9 lessons resonated most strongly with you. Which one do you most need to work on? Which one could transform your life if you truly mastered it? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. We all know someone struggling with emotional chaos, someone who could benefit from these principles. Be the person who introduces them to the philosophy that could change their life. Sometimes a single video, a single idea, a single principle encountered at the right moment can alter someone's entire trajectory. Like this video if it provided value, because that tells the algorithm to show it to more people who need this wisdom. Every like is a vote for spreading philosophical wisdom in a world drowning in superficial content. Every share is an act of service to someone who might be suffering in silence, waiting for exactly these words to reach them. Remember, the Stoics believed that wisdom should be shared freely, that we have a duty to help others achieve the same freedom we seek for ourselves. By spreading these ideas, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back over 2 millennia, a golden chain of wisdom passed from teacher to student, from friend to friend, from generation to generation. The final challenge, I want to leave you with a challenge. Something Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, never expecting anyone else to read it. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, and as a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Your work as a human being isn't just your job or your roles. It's the work of becoming the best version of yourself, of mastering your emotions, of living according to wisdom rather than impulse. It's the work of transforming yourself from a reactive animal into a philosophical human being. It's the work of building an inner citadel that no external force can conquer. This work isn't easy. If it were easy, everyone would be emotionally stable, everyone would be wise, everyone would be free. But it's precisely because it's difficult that it's valuable. It's precisely because most people won't do this work that those who do stand out like beacon fires in the darkness. The question isn't whether you can do this work. You can. The Stoics proved that anyone, regardless of circumstances, can achieve emotional mastery. A slave can become a philosopher. An emperor can maintain humility. A prisoner can find freedom. A dying person can find peace. If they could do it in their extreme circumstances, you can do it in yours. The question is whether you will do this work, whether you'll commit to the daily practice of philosophical living, whether you'll choose the difficult path of wisdom over the easy path of emotional chaos, whether you'll join the ranks of those throughout history who have discovered that true power comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering themselves. The choice is yours. But remember, not choosing is itself a choice. Every day you don't practice these principles is a day you remain enslaved to your emotions. Every day you don't train your mind is a day you remain vulnerable to life's inevitable challenges. Every day you don't build your inner fortress is a day you remain defenseless against the storms that are surely coming. But if you choose to begin this practice, if you commit to this path, if you dedicate yourself to emotional mastery through Stoic wisdom, then you join a tradition of strength that has weathered every storm history could produce. You become part of a philosophical lineage that includes some of the greatest minds and strongest souls who have ever lived. More importantly, you become who you were meant to be, not a leaf blown by every wind of emotion, but a tree with roots so deep that no storm can topple you. Not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of meaning. Not a slave to your emotions, but their master. The ancient Stoics believed that philosophy wasn't an abstract academic exercise, but a practical art of living. They called it the art of life, and like any art, it requires practice, patience, and persistence. But also like any art, once mastered, it transforms the mundane into the magnificent, the ordinary into the extraordinary, the human into the heroic. This is your invitation to that transformation. This is your call to that heroic journey. The path is clear, the principles are proven, the community is waiting. All that's missing is you taking the first step. So take it, right now. Choose one principle from today's discussion and commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Write it down. Make it your phone wallpaper. Set hourly reminders. Whatever it takes to keep it in your consciousness as you move through your day. Because here's the truth that the Stoics understood, and that modern science is only now confirming. Your mind is infinitely moldable. Your emotional patterns, no matter how ingrained, can be changed. Your reactions, no matter how automatic, can be reprogrammed. You are not fixed. You are not finished. You are a work in progress, and you are both the sculptor and the clay. Every time you apply these principles, you're taking hammer and chisel to your own character. Every time you choose wisdom over impulse, virtue over vice, effort over outcome, you're shaping yourself into something greater. Every time you embrace what happens, maintain perspective, stay present, you're approaching what the Stoics called the sage, the ideal of human wisdom and virtue. You might never reach that ideal completely. Even Marcus Aurelius, even Seneca, even Epictetus acknowledged their imperfections and continued striving. But the journey toward that ideal, the daily practice of these principles, the consistent effort to master your emotions, this is what makes life meaningful. This is what transforms existence from a series of reactions into a deliberate creation. The Stoics believed that we are all capable of this transformation. They believed that wisdom and virtue are available to everyone, regardless of external circumstances. They believed that every human being has within them the capacity for emotional mastery, philosophical living, and profound peace. I believe it too. I believe it because I've lived it. I've tested these principles in the laboratory of my own life, through successes and failures, through gains and losses, through moments of triumph and periods of despair. And every single time, without exception, these principles have provided the stability, clarity, and strength I needed to not just survive, but thrive. Now it's your turn. Your journey to emotional mastery begins the moment you close this video and apply what you've learned. Your transformation starts with the next choice you make, the next emotion you feel, the next challenge you face. Your freedom is waiting on the other side of practice. Welcome to the path of the Stoics. Welcome to the art of living. Welcome to emotional mastery. Remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, and share it with someone who needs this wisdom. Comment below with your commitment. Which principle will you practice this week? Until next time, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Stay strong, stay stoic, stay free.